Welcome to our channel United Coaching. Today we will discuss top 20 questions from the topic Heredity and Genetics, and these questions are taken from previous year question papers of boards like CBSE board, ICSE board, state boards and some of the national level exams as well. Okay, our first question is genetics is the study of. So the correct answer is inheritance. Our second question is gene in humans is made of. So the correct answer is DNA, that is deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. Our third question is which amongst the listed tools was used to study the law of inheritance in pea plant by Gregor J. Mendel. So the correct answer is Punnett square. Now this is the diagram of a Punnett square. The table in between is the Punnett square. The Punnett square is a square diagram that is used to predict the genotypes of a particular cross or breeding experiment, and it is named after Reginald C. Punnett. Okay, our next question is which of the following is heterozygous? So the correct option is D, that is capital T for dominant allele and small t for recessive allele. Rest of the options are homozygous, that is either they are having the dominant allele in form of a capital alphabet, that is like in example A, that is capital T, capital T, capital R, that represents the dominant alleles, and in option B small t, small r represents recessive allele, and in C the capital T again represents the dominant allele. So they are all homozygous, but in D the option the capital T is for dominant allele and small t is for recessive allele. So the correct option is D, that is heterozygous. Okay, our next question is the genotype of offspring formed from heterozygous allele, that is capital T small t, crossed with homozygous recessive allele will be. So the correct answer, as you can see from the diagram, if the parent are capital T small t crossed with recessive allele small t, the F1 generation will have two types of genotype, that is capital T small t and small t. So the correct option over here is B, that is capital T small t heterozygous and small t homozygous recessive allele. Okay, our next question, the maleness of a child is determined by, so is it the X chromosome in the zygote, Y chromosome in the zygote, or the cytoplasm of germ cell which determines the sex, which is a wrong option, and sex is determined by chance, so this is also wrong option. Now between the first and the option A and B, the B option is correct, that is Y chromosome in zygote. So now we will see from the diagram that from the mother we receive only X chromosome, that because mother has X and X chromosome, but the father gives either X chromosome or Y chromosome, and when father's Y chromosome combines with mother's X chromosome, then the child is a male child. But if the father's X chromosome combines with mother's X chromosome, then the child is a female child. So the maleness of a child is determined by the Y chromosome in the zygote. Okay, our next question is the correct statement regarding chromosomes are. So first option, they carry hereditary information from parents to the next generation. So this is correct. And they are thread-like structures located inside the nucleus of an animal cell. So this is also correct. They always exist in pairs in human reproductive cells. So this is wrong. They don't exist in pair in reproductive cells. They exist in pair only in the somatic cells. And the option number D, they are involved in the process of cell division. So this is correct. So the correct options are A, B and D. Okay, our next question is the genotype of the height of an organism is written as capital T small t, that is dominant allele is represented by capital T and recessive allele is represented by small t. What conclusion may be drawn? So option A, the allele for height has at least two different genes. So this is wrong. It's not two different genes. It is two different alleles. B, there are at least two different alleles for the gene for height. So this is correct. There are two different genes for height, each having a single allele. So again, this is wrong. Not genes. It is two different alleles and single gene. And option number D, there is one allele for height with two different forms. So this is also wrong. This is not one allele. There are two alleles for one gene, and there is no such thing as two different forms. Okay, so the option number B is correct. Okay, our next question is, which statement is true for a dominant allele? Option A, it cannot undergo mutation. So this is wrong. Mutation has nothing to do with dominance or recessiveness of an allele. Option B, it gives a greater chance of survival than a recessive allele. Again, the survival of an organism doesn't depend on dominant or recessive allele. And option C, it gives the same phenotype in heterozygotes and homozygotes. So this is true. Both in heterozygotes and homozygotes, the dominant allele will get expressed unless the homozygote has both the recessive allele. Then the recessive allele will get expressed. Otherwise, if there is a dominant allele in heterozygote, so the dominant allele expression will be seen, and in homozygote, as both the alleles would be dominant alleles, so again the dominant allele expression will be seen in the offspring. And the option D, it is only responsible for male characteristics. So this is wrong. Maleness or femaleness of the organism has nothing to do with the dominant allele. It has nothing to do with the sex chromosome of the organism. Okay, so the option number C over here is correct. Okay, our next question. In an experiment to study independent inheritance of one trait, for example height, the ratio of genotype in F2 progeny would be. So as you can see from the Punnett square, if the parent are homozygote, that is capital T crossed with recessive allele small t, the F1 generation would be heterozygote with both the dominant and the recessive allele. And when they are self-pollinated, the F2 generation will have heterozygote and homozygote for both dominant and recessive allele. Okay, and the phenotypic ratio would be 3:1, and the genotype would be 1:2:1. So the correct option over here is B. The genotype would be 1:2:1, and the phenotype would be 3:1. That is, 3 would be showing the dominant allele and only 1 would be showing the recessive allele. If you are liking our content, please leave a like and a comment, and if you like, you can subscribe to our channel, and this will boost our morale for upcoming videos. Thank you. Okay, our next question is, in an experiment to study independent inheritance of two separate traits, that is the shape and the color of seed, the ratio of phenotype of F2 progeny would be. Now over here there are two separate traits, that means two different genes. Okay, so as you can see from the Punnett square, if the parent are homozygote, that is parent with a dominant allele, that is yellow round seed, is crossed with parent with a recessive allele, that is green and wrinkled, the F1 generation will be heterozygote. And when the F1 generation is self-pollinated, the F2 generation will show the phenotype of 9:3:3:1. That is, 9 progenies would show a dominant allele, that is yellow round seed, 3 would show yellow wrinkled seed, and then 3 will show green round seed, and only 1 will show green and wrinkled seed. So the phenotypic ratio would in an F2 generation with two traits, two genes, the phenotypic ratio would be 9:3:3:1. Okay, our next question is, exchange of genetic material takes place in. So the correct option is sexual reproduction only. The other options like A, vegetative reproduction, and D, budding, these are types of asexual reproduction, and in asexual reproduction there is no exchange of genetic material taking place. So option C over here is correct. Okay, our next question. Two pink colored flowers on crossing resulted in one red, two pink and one white flower progeny. The nature of the cross will be. So as we can see from the diagram, when the homozygote parents are crossed, that is red flower is crossed with white flower, and the red flower has dominant allele and the white flower has recessive allele, their progeny in F1 generation will be heterozygote, producing pink flower, that is capital R small r. Both will get expressed and the progeny will be pink flower. And when this pink flower is self-pollinated, the F2 generation will show all the three phenotypes, that is red, pink and white, and the genotype ratio would be 1:2:1. And this is achieved only by self-pollination of F1 generation. So the correct option over here is B. This is achieved by self-pollination. Okay, our next question. Consider the following statements. The correct statements are, so option A, the sex of a child is determined by what it inherits from the mother. So this is wrong. It is determined by what it inherits from the father, as we have seen earlier. And B, the sex of a child is determined by what it inherits from the father. So this is correct. We have already seen from the diagram. Option C, the probability of having a male child is more than that of a female child. So this is wrong. The probability is equal 50-50, as the father carries the X and Y gene. So the probability is either the child will get X chromosome or Y chromosome. That is 50-50 probability. And the D option, the sex of a child is determined at the time of fertilization when male and female gametes fuse to form a zygote. So this is true. At the time of fertilization, if the X chromosome is given to the egg, then the female, the child would be female, and if Y chromosome is given to the egg cell, then the child would be male. So the correct options over here are B and D. Okay, our next question. A basket of vegetables contain carrot, potato, radish and tomato. Which of them represent the correct homologous structures? So the correct option over here is radish and carrot. So this is just an example to understand. So if you consider these two options with potato or tomato, they have a different phenotype, and carrot and radish look similar. So this is just an example to show what a homologous structure or an allele looks like. Okay, so the correct option over here is radish and carrot. Okay, our next question is, which of the following is a test cross? Now, in a test cross, an organism with a dominant phenotype but with an unknown genotype is crossed with a homozygous recessive genotype. And the purpose of a test cross is to determine whether the organism with the dominant phenotype is homozygous or heterozygous for a specific allele. So, the correct option over here is option number D, that is heterozygous is crossed with homozygous recessive allele. Okay, so as you can see from the diagram, in a test cross, if the parent is homozygous or heterozygous dominant is crossed with recessive homozygous, the F1 generation will show heterozygous for dominant or homozygous for recessive allele. Okay, so the correct option over here is D. Okay, our next question is, if two parents have genotype A, that is homozygous dominant crossed with recessive homozygous, the probability of having an AA genotype in the F1 generation is. So as you can see from the Punnett square, the probability of having a recessive homozygous genotype is 0. So the correct option over here is D, that is none of the above. Okay, our next question is, which of the following statement is incorrect? So option A, for every hormone there is a gene. So this is correct. Majority of hormones are either proteins or protein derivatives, and for proteins there is a gene. So option number B is also correct. For every protein there is a gene. Option number C, for production of every enzyme there is a gene. So this is also correct. Majority of enzymes are protein, and for protein there is a gene. Okay, and option number D, for every molecule of fat there is a gene. So this is incorrect. Fat is not protein or protein derivative. It is majoritarily made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and for that there is no need of gene. Fats are produced in a different metabolic pathway. So gene has nothing to do with fat production or fat molecule. So option number D over here is incorrect. Okay, our next question is, if a round green seeded pea plant, that is capital R small y. Now over here capital R is for round seed and Y is the recessive gene for the yellow. So Y over here represents green color. Okay, and it is the recessive allele of the dominant gene, that is capital Y, that is for yellow color. Okay, so when this is crossed with wrinkled yellow seeded pea plant, that is small r. Now again small r is for wrinkled and this is recessive, and the dominant of that would be capital R, which is round. Okay, so round is dominant and wrinkled is recessive, and green is recessive and yellow is dominant. So if this arrangement is crossed, what would be the seeds produced in F1 generation would be? So as you can see from the diagram, the F1 generation would give round and yellow seeds. Okay, so the correct option over here is A, that is round and yellow. Okay, our next question is, a zygote which has an X chromosome inherited from the father will develop into a. So as we have seen earlier, it will develop into a girl child. So as we have seen that the father gives X chromosome and Y chromosome, and mother gives only one type of chromosome, that is X chromosome. So if the zygote receives X from the father and X from the mother, so the child would be a female child or a girl child. So option number B over here is correct. So these were the top 20 questions from the topic heredity and genetics. And if you like our content, please check out our other playlist. And if you like, you can subscribe to our channel as well. Thank you.